I didn't set out to write about my father. This book began, funnily enough, as a small essay about living in Brooklyn, New York. But of course, since my father had died recently, it was very much on my mind. And he had lived in Brooklyn briefly when he was young and had had a couple of experiences which served as the sort of basis for Sophie's choice. Living in the same borough and very close to where my father lived as a young man, I began to sort of unfold these memories. And so I went down to Duke University where his archives are. I didn't have a particular plan, but I thought he might be unearthed in a sort of emotional way for me if I went down there. And I was kind of stunned by the amount of new information I found. For much of my teenage and young adult years, my father was working on a novel that he was calling The Way of the Warrior, and it was, in several different incarnations, a war novel. When I went down to Duke, what I found amongst his unfinished manuscripts was not only several iterations of The Way of the Warrior, but several other unfinished manuscripts. And I think that was the most devastating discovery I made in the process of writing this. I realized that my father had kind of been driven crazy, that a certain madness had overtaken him because he could not finish a great novel. He had written these great novels in the past, and it was all he really cared about. It was his true passion. Being the youngest of four, much younger than my brother, I ended up spending a lot of time alone with both of my parents, but also a lot of time alone with my father. And he and I developed a special relationship that I think came out of our mutual respect for one another. Kind of stayed out of each other's hair, and I developed a sense of humor that I think my father appreciated. I remember the photograph that's on the cover of the book, and I remember coming downstairs with my hair afright, which it always was, in this funny nightgown, and I was a total ham, and I remember going in there and trying to get his attention. I certainly liked to get the opportunity to get my father's attention when I could.